Clock, exactly.
Make sure she's going in the right direction.
Good evening. I'm District Secretary Nancy Gamble Hatfield. It's Tuesday, September 3rd, 2013, and this is a regular meeting of the Dublin San Ramon Services District Board of Directors. Presiding this evening at this moment is Vice President Von Peter Leopold.
Thank you, Nancy. Call the meeting to order, and please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Director Halkett.
Here.
Director Howard.
Here.
Director Duarte.
Here.
Vice President Von Peter Leopold.
Here. Any special announcements tonight?
Nothing tonight.
Public comment. This is the time that members of the audience can address the board on any item that's not on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll proceed with reports from the general manager.
Yes, Vice President Von Heater and members of the board, just a few things for you tonight. The first one is that I believe the Alameda County Special Districts Association will be holding their bi-monthly meeting on Wednesday, September 11th at Zone 7's offices. Neither District Secretary Gamble Hatfield nor myself have seen the official announcement, so we're a little bit unsure, but we think it's going to happen, so we'll check tomorrow, Nancy, if you could help me remember and try to verify that for anybody that's going. It's usually at 8 o'clock in the morning. So. Secondly, you will have in front of you a bound copy of the 4th edition of the District Strategic Plan, which your board approved back in June. So you have a paper copy. It's also been posted on the district's homepage on the internet, or a link from the homepage to the page on the internet. The anaerobic digester number 2 at the wastewater treatment plant is out of service right now. It's part of routine maintenance for cleaning, but it is a significant event. We don't take digesters out of service every day, nor do we take them out lightly. We anticipate it'll be out of service for about 2 to 3 weeks. We'll have operations staff and our lab staff be monitoring our process very quickly, because without digester capacity, you can get an operational problems pretty darn quick if you're not on top of things. And related to operations, Mr. Dan Lopez, Dan, but not Dan Gallagher, will be sitting in as acting operations manager this week for Dan Gallagher. Dan, I think this is the first time you've attended a board meeting, so yeah, so behave. And there's been no correspondence to or from the board that I have for you. And Vice President Von Peter Leopold, when you get to agenda management, I have a recommendation for the board.
Okay. There's no committee report, so why don't you go ahead and talk about agenda management?
Okay, and I apologize up front because this is a bit verbose, but basically what we're heading towards is what I'm heading towards is requesting that the board add 2 closed sessions to the board's agenda tonight. So bear with me. Since the agenda for this particular meeting was posted, information was received by the district regarding a matter not on the agenda. The information concerns negotiations regarding real property, specifically the price and terms of contemplated contracts with the city of Pleasanton for lease of various facilities of theirs, as well as to supply water generated by the district's water treatment plant, recycled water treatment plant, under which the district is facing significant exposure to litigation. The district's legal counsel and I believe that the new information requires the board to take immediate action. To do so in a manner protecting the district's interest in these matters, in turn, will require that this action take place in closed session. First, a conference with the district's real property negotiator, myself, and my support team regarding the price and terms of the contemplated lease contracts with the city of Pleasanton and to supply the water generated by the district's treatment plant, and a second conference with district's counsel concerning the significant exposure to litigation is therefore recommended and permitted under government code sections 54956.8, 54956.9D2, and 54956.9E1 respectively. President or Vice President Von Heater Leopold, under Government Code Section 54954.2B2, a motion properly made, 4 affirmative votes are necessary for the board to add these 2 matters to the agenda as closed sessions.
Okay, do I hear a motion? Second? It's been moved and seconded that we add item 11B, a closed session item regarding property negotiation, and I'm sure Nancy has the code section. Any discussion?
And that's B and C.
And C, yes.
Correct.
And C is lawful litigation.
Correct. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. And I think we can do those right at the end of the agenda. I suggest we do those actually as items, given the staff that needs to be present for them. I suggest we do them as items A and B,
Okay.
and do those up front ahead of the one closed session that's already listed.
All right. Okay, move on to item 7, approval of the minutes.
Move approval of minutes, August 20th, 2013.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of August 20th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 8, consent calendar.
Move for approval of the calendars as A through D.
Second.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve items 8A through D on the consent calendar. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Item 9, board business. Looks like we have none this time. Item 10, board member items. Pat, want to start?
Let's see. Just add
Okay. Rich? Ted?
Yes, myself along with President Vincent and Vice President Bonlier, Georgine. We attended the CASA conference in San Diego a couple of weeks ago. That was my second workshop, second conference, and it was good. I thought that being in Newport Beach, I learned a little more, but perhaps that's because in Newport Beach everything was new to me. There was a couple of things here that did stand out that were of interest to me. Because of our board meeting the night before, most of us went down the next morning, so we missed the CSRMA workshop. But Georgine and I attended the executive board meeting for the CASA organization itself, which was very interesting to me. That was her recommendation to do that because we got to see the inner workings of how CASA is actually functioning. And they discussed a couple of key issues, plans for the upcoming legislative conference, which will be held in Sacramento. There's a dues increase coming. They haven't had one since 2008, so it's about 4% for the member agencies, and that was approved. An interesting point also was discussed in that we have a couple of member agencies that are not renewing their membership, and yet there were 2 districts, if you will, that were in attendance at the workshop, and the subject came up that why should they get the benefit of all the conference material, the workshops, the seminars, the information, etc. Well, in fact, they are not paying dues. So after a lengthy discussion, they appointed a committee to discuss that and to address those concerns. A couple of other key workshops were growing your own leaders. Talked about general managers. One of the districts out in the Riverside area had recently hired a new GM, and I thought it was an interesting point they brought up, in that they did not require residency. That gentleman they hired, they didn't require him to move to the district. And they also acknowledged that quite often when you are hiring the top person, they may, or from an outside, not promoting from within and bringing someone from the outside. Quite often they'll bring their own team, maybe an assistant GM or a key staff person. There was also 2 very interesting 2 workshops on projects, one underway for the city of Modesto, to the tune of about $135 million. That was of interest to me, being a contractor. Also, the contractor who was building that happens to be a local contractor, GSE Construction, out of Livermore. A couple of key things they did there: they pre-qualified all of their bidding contractors, number one, and they pre-purchased a lot of their equipment. Sacramento has a $500 million mega plant that they've got, that they're in design and planning on. And I think a lot of the audience found it a little interesting in their presentation, how they found them paying for it. There was a workshop on case histories for handling emergencies, including our own DSRSD.
There's a fluoride overfeed.
Yes, I mean, who presented that?
Actually, Sue Stevenson.
Sue Stevenson, right.
She was here.
So we heard from a panel of people, different from PR people to emergency operations people, as to how they handle that. So that was of interest. And then I attended the final general session on Saturday morning, where the formal approval of the new slate of officers incoming. The budget was formally adopted, and they welcomed and turned over the gavel to our new president, which is Steve Hogg from the city of Fresno.
Thank you.
Busy.
Is there anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, well, I also, as Ed mentioned, attended, and he covered a lot of the topics, but I just have a couple of things that were very interesting to me. Carlsbad is doing a desal plant, a 50 million gallon per day plant serving 3 million people. And what interested me is that in the end, they believe the cost to be $2,014 per acre foot. And they only charge 50% of potable water, the potable water charge for their recycled water. But that sort of goes along with what we've always known, that desalinization is extremely expensive. Let's see, the other thing too was at the general session, they've increased dues a little bit. I mean, the organization has really undergone a massive change in the way it's organized and the way it functions. It's more of a staff and an office and a, feet on the ground organization now, so the dues had to go up a little bit. And then the last session was on communications, which we've talked about several times, things like having Facebook accounts and how to get the word out about things. I think that's about it. I have my report here, but we have to get a kick out of it, because if you remember, I mentioned that when I started with DSRSD, it was called waste and sludge, and then it became biosolids, and then it became a water resource, and now it's becoming a reusable resource. So Guy Houston happened to be there, and he suggested a name change of Dublin San Ramon Services District Reusable Resource. As if DSRSD isn't enough. So that's all I had. Dawn, did you have a report?
Well, I do, but you guys have pretty much covered it as well. But I know that for me, I went to the CSRMA meeting with Bert, and so that was really exciting. They talked about interest rates, they talked about their portfolio, they talked about the economic times of the organization, and they've really done quite a good job. And I found out that they were giving out dividends to the organizations based on their insurance premium. They're refunding some of their insurance premiums. So we get $60,000+ because we, for our previous 2 years.
It was based on experience for the past 20 years, but it's driven by more recent experience. But it's a sum of return of premiums from previous years, and it's a net of $60,000. Actually, we have a small charge on one thing and larger thing.
What's about it net? But anyway, that was good. And then all the sessions that we attended were quite interesting. And I particularly, the ones I enjoyed was the rebranding of the whole organization and the focus that they're really putting on looking at more revenue opportunities to get out of biosolids and out of resource recovery projects. The organization is looking at incenting education and also the academic world into getting more inventions out there. So I thought that was really kind of like another thinking outside the box. And 4% in dues. I don't know, it's just really good. I really like the sense of the organization. It's very friendly. But I was really impressed with the speakers. They had a gentleman in from Milwaukee, and I think Director Duarte mentioned that. But it's an organization that's on the move. And they not only want to be enviro-friendly, but they do definitely want to take a lead in being the leader in changing wastewater to reusable energy. So with that, I loved all the presentations, and my report will be given as well. So thank you.
Thank you. I did forget one thing. I don't know if anybody noticed it this morning in the paper. In Paso Robles, they're having an interesting struggle between the vintners and the residents over the groundwater basin because the wine acreage has more than tripled in 15 years, and some residents say the water basin is flowing freely into the vineyards. The water level has sunk 70 feet since 1997, and it's 800 square miles, so it's a very large water basin. But the ultimate thing is, it sounds like it's going to court, which, for those of you that have been around a while, we've always kind of sort of not wanted to talk about with our groundwater basin because, you know, it would probably be a very long, drawn-out struggle if we ever had to have it adjudicated. Okay, any other items? Then I'll adjourn to closed session.
And I think for the record, we need to mention that for the real property session, the people going into closed session will be myself, Dave Rico, Lori Rhodes, and Mr. Nelson.
You know, there's days when
Yeah,
something
that's
happens like that.
You know, if you get